Hey, Steve Noble, Noble Moto. Got a 1970 BSA 441 up here on the lift. I just acquired this from my friend Bob out in Rhode Island. Bob and his cat Dora, of course. And as you can see, it's mostly all here. A few of the things are missing. Not completely missing, they're in a tote, but I have the oil tank, I have the battery. Basically, I have pretty much all the parts. Bob was doing a resto mod thing on it, and of course, life got in the way as we all have to have that battle periodically. So it's been sitting for about 4 or 5 years or so. So what we're going to do to it is I'm going to take the oil tank, I'm going to flush out the oil tank on here. We are going to pull the carburetor off of it, rebuild the old Amel carburetor, so you'll get a video on that. I'm going to flush out the oil lines and or replace them depending on the situation. It's really just 2 oil lines. I've never actually worked on a BSA, so I'm assuming I can pull the oil lines off and replace them. Then we will go through the electrical system. I'm going to give it a good visual on all the connections. Everything looks pretty good. Nothing looks overly dry rotted, but we will give it all a pretty good look over. Everything looks pretty solid here. And we'll put a battery in it and light it up and see how the electrical works. So we got a tail light for the back end of it. Got a modern one, looks just like the Lucas ones. We'll put some new fluid, we'll change all the fluids in it. I'm going to put some AMSOIL products in there. Now your main goal whenever you're dealing with any type of barn find, garage find, bikes, stuff like this, you want to change out your fluids obviously. And you're going to want to investigate, probably change out all the rubber items on there. Now if it's really been sitting for a long time, it doesn't hurt to tear it apart and replace the gaskets. This thing hasn't been sitting for that long. It was in a climate controlled garage for about 4 to 5 years. So I'm sure it's going to leak because it's an old British bike. But I'm not going to really go tearing into the thing or replace all the gaskets on it yet. We're going to see how it does once it runs, and maybe that'll be a down the road video. But in the short term, it's going to be a case of swapping out the rubber oil lines, rebuilding the carburetor on the thing, get it on the road and running. Then we will probably change out the tires because there's quite a bit of dry rot on these things, so they're looking to be pretty old, and it never hurts to throw new tires on things. And from there, we will also swap out the fork oil in there because it's been sitting for a long time. And we'll give all the cables a good lube. We'll lubricate all the pivot points on it. And yeah, and then we'll see how it does. I don't really believe in having bikes I don't ride, so we're going to ride the snot out of this thing. We're even going to take it on the Skidmark 300, which is a vintage-oriented dirt road, gravel road ride. Got some 2-track stuff in there. So stay tuned to my channel. And follow the playlist for this. I think you can actually get notifications when I add stuff to the playlist. I don't really know how that works. I just make the videos. But either way, keep an eye on that playlist. This should be a pretty cool video series. So, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. That's all I got.